Hello everybody, welcome to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is Season 1, Episode 45, which is the last episode of this season, as I've been mentioning to you, so that we can all enjoy the nice hot summer weather for the month of August. I'll be back here with you guys in September. Date to be finalized and announced, so stay tuned on that. Today, as promised from yesterday's episode, I'm gonna share with you the 5 steps of an efficient offer making process. Like I keep saying, my mentor, one of the first things that he said is you gotta stop looking at houses. Remember, you're learning how money works, you're learning how to invest. And so even though we are leveraging real estate as our main vehicle to create monthly cash flow and creating long-term wealth, you got to remember it's ultimately about the financial education. However, that still means that you need to learn how to make offers. But the whole point though is that before you make that offer, as you guys can see, 4445, there's a bit of a continuity there. Yesterday I called it the one thing that people don't do or that people forget to do before they make offers. And today I changed that to the first thing because it is still the first thing that you have to do when it comes to deal analysis, okay? So number 1, we're gonna go straight into it now. The 5 steps, first step of that is deal analysis, really crunching your numbers and running your numbers. And a lot of you guys are always saying, hey, you know what? How do I find my numbers? Especially if you're buying multi-unit, so multi-family properties, a lot of the times what you can do is that information should be available to you either directly by the seller or by the listing agent as well. However, that to us is really just a starting point or even just a reference point, because regardless of how it's performing right now, you got to remember every time we acquire property, the basic principles still stand. Number 1 is to be able to add value to it in order for you to, number 2, increase performance, because that's what it comes down to. So this is why a lot of times when people buy pre-sales, when people just buy a regular listing on MLS, when their realtors present something, especially the realtors are not investor-minded in themselves, you're really buying everything retail, which means that you have very little to no chance of cash flowing. If you're lucky, if you're not lucky, then it's actually sucking money out of your bank account every single month. And so this is why we always talk about the deal analysis portion, which is number crunching. So once you get the numbers from the seller or from the listing agent, that's really your either baseline or just a reference point. At the end of the day, it is about goal SMP. When you find out a goal, that a financial goal that you want to hit, and you identify the strategy that you want to use to get there, then you should actually be able to come up with your own list of criteria. So for example, let's say if we're going into an income property, based on the 2 top priorities in investing. Number 1, cash flow, number 2, ROI. It can be as simple as just establishing those 2 criteria first. Number 1, each door needs to be at least cash flowing $150 per month post renovation, so post value add. Number 2, return on investment. You can say that post refinance, so if you're doing a BRRRR, for example, or a BRRRR process, as we've covered now. I feel like this is a really nice summary too, in a way, because we've covered all these topics already over the last month and a half. And so if you're actually doing a BRRRR process, your ROI, theoretically speaking, should be fairly decent. And so what that really means is you can say, hey, you know what, each door needs to be at least cash flowing $150 on a monthly basis, and my ROI needs to be at least at either 15%, 20%, 50%, 60%, or my cash on cash should at least be at, say, 10%, 12%. For example. And as long as you have your own baseline, it makes deal analysis a lot faster as well. And so once you've done that, once you've got the criteria out, and this is actually, I'm going to dwell on this just for a few more minutes here. Once you got your baseline set out, this is actually what enables you to be able to scale and communicate to your power team members a lot more effectively as well. Because guess what? Once you're able to list out what kind of financial goals and results you're expecting from each purchase or each property that you're going to be acquiring, it makes it so much simpler for you to go out and find funding. So that could be through your mortgage broker, your tier 1 mortgage broker on your power team, or if you need to go out and source other people's money. Okay, and as a result, you can also communicate that to the realtors that you have in the markets that you want to invest into. And that way you're not wasting their time. They're not wasting your time sending you a bunch of deals that will not hit those targets at all. And so one of the things that we feel very blessed to have accomplished, and we've obviously, you know what, the running joke is you still got to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. And so we kissed a lot of frogs over the last 10 years now at this point in various markets, in various countries, okay? The idea is we've actually managed to train, or share, train, all sometimes the same, right? Train a lot of the realtors that we've worked with to meet our criteria. So we never ever get deals that we won't even look at. So even upon first glance, if the numbers don't work, there's usually a reason why they're sending it to us, because within the listings that they're sending, they will already input their feedback on the property. So for example, an email that I'm usually expecting to see from a realtor that we work with, or estate agent, depending on which market that you're working in, is something like, for example, you can buy this property for, I'm just going to use simple math here. You can buy this property for $200,000, and if you put in $250,000, you're gonna get an after repair value of at least $320,000. And these are the work that needs to be done in order for you to be comparable, and to be able to bring you to that value. And if you want to do a little bit more, obviously the value might go a little higher. If you do a little bit less, the value will go a little bit less. And the comps are already all included in that email as well. So really, at the end of the day, remember, we're really staying true to our role in terms of being an investor, because ideally, your job is to go out there and present good deals so that money will follow the good deals at all times. And that way it helps you raise money a lot faster as well, okay? So that is how important deal analysis is. This is why it is the first thing that you still want to do before the second thing, which is now, as what we're talking about here, making the actual offer. When you make that offer, a lot of you guys understand that this is really your opportunity to go through, to give you, by yourselves, time to do what we call due diligence. So depending on what kind of offers you're actually used to making, typically speaking, we have typical clauses like financing, like inspection, sometimes appraisal as well. And you also need to confirm expenses. Maybe depending on the type of property, you're doing your surveys as well. However, for us, if it's a property first approach, the biggest item that we put in here is actually contractor's quote. Because if we're doing property first, what that means once again is that we want to be able to add value to it. Because why? We always want to make money in the buy. We make money when we buy. And that typically means, unless it's a distressed seller situation, if it's a distressed property, that means there should be some renovation budget included into your deal analysis right off the bat. So for example, earlier when I said $200,000 in purchase, $50,000 in renovations, and it'll probably get an ARV of $320,000. When that number works for us, when I make that offer, I will have a contractor's quote as one of the conditions in there. So the moment the offer is accepted, guess what? I actually don't do financing first. Financing should probably be already lined up and confirmed. However, that's a different story. Everybody runs at it a little differently. The first thing that I would do is the moment that offer is accepted, we make an appointment for my general contractor to go in, or builders to go in and do a complete quote based on what we want to get done during the deal analysis. And that deal analysis really has a lot of input from the realtor that we work with as well. Because at the end of the day, guess what? Unless you're a licensed agent yourself, we flip it back out to our agent, to our realtor who actually brought us the deal. So we buy it from him or her, and we also sell it through him or through her in that case. And in order for it to be a quick sale, they are the ones that are telling us, okay, you know what, window needs to be updated, this needs to be updated, that might need to be done. And in some cases, they will even say, okay, you know what, in this neighborhood, maybe windows don't have to be done. So it saves you some money, and that way you increase your profit margin. However, the whole point is, if the contractor's quotes come back, by the way, some of you, if this is brand new to you, you always want to start with at least 3 different quotes from 3 different people with the exact same job scope, okay? When the contractor's quote comes back, let's say if it comes back saying $50,000, awesome. If it's $48,000, even better. If they come back and say it's $53,000, for example, okay, let's quickly sit down between me, the general contractor, and the realtor once again. Let's come through what's on the quote that actually brought it over the $50,000 budget. And if we're going over budget, on the flip side, on the exit side, are we going to gain that margin back as well? Okay, so you will determine that based on this. And this is what we mean by the fact that you got to run your numbers first. And then all you're doing after that is to make sure that all the due diligence steps that you're taking satisfy your deal analysis. That's what it comes down to. And so right after that, okay, right after that, assuming that everything's going over properly and the quote comes back, let's say we're $50,000 right on the dot. That means it's been satisfied, it's checked, and we're ready to move on. So obviously we go into the, what we call conveyancing. So this is the legal step with the lawyer, okay? This is the legal step with the lawyers. And number 4, you don't actually have to do a whole lot of things. You just have to make sure that your lawyers are good transaction lawyers with you. However, again, this is one of the steps that we always built in simply because of the fact that 80% of the deals that we do these days now are actually based on other people's money, a lot less institutional lending. So this is one of the steps simply because of the fact that you may need to connect your OPM investors to a lawyer that is familiar with administering private lending. So in the forms of maybe promissory note, agreement for sale, seller financing, option to purchase contract, or a private mortgage document as well. So that's why it's actually a step in there to remind you that if you're going the unconventional way for financing, that is one of the things that you definitely need to look out for. And for those of you who are on the Trust Your Talent Bootcamp this past month for the last 4 weeks, we also talked about the fact that there are lawyers that definitely need to be trained on how to administer, register funds, for example, and that's a whole other step on its own too in terms of the conveyancing process, okay? And so last but not least, you want to do your clean. Once again, we kind of covered this already. So I know we said that this is an effective offer making process. However, yesterday I did say that. I'm just going to share with you the 5 steps that we do in terms of our entire acquisition process. Okay, so once the conveyancing is done, conditions are lifted. In Canada and the US, we're fairly lucky in the sense that once conditions are all removed, technically speaking, 99.9% of the times, we are already guaranteed to take possession of the property as the buyer. Okay, our experience dealing in the UK market has told us that that's not always the case. However, I know the majority of the audience is in North America right now with these videos. So I'm just gonna focus on that. The reason why I say clean is not the fact that I want to remind you to clean. It's the fact that I want to remind you, you can actually start the process early, not just cleaning, however, also any steps that you want to, even before possession date, okay? Because time is not just money, time is everything. So we've done this with a lot of flip projects or even any projects that we need to do any sort of renovations on. It's the fact that we always ask, when is the earliest we can actually get into the property, especially if the property is already vacant. So write this down if you need to. There is a thing called tenancy at will. that you're able to do with every single purchase agreement, as long as it is already empty, it's already vacant. What that means is, let's just say, for example, what are we at? The last day of July, okay? Let's say we got a property on a contract right now and possession date is supposed to be August 31st. However, again, we've already removed all the conditions as of today. So really, that property is just sitting there empty for the next 31 days and nobody's going to go in and out until the title is officially transferred. However, hey, as investors, especially if you're accessing OPM, usually the interest rate is a little higher. And for us, especially if it's a flip or anything for that matter, you want things to move a little bit faster, because the shorter the time that it takes for you to put your product on the market, the less cost of holding or cost of borrowing it will incur for you. And all that just means that you're increasing your profit margin. So for example, if possession date is not until August 31st, I would probably negotiate for a tenancy at will, maybe starting August 5th. Because again, there's nothing stopping you from getting in there at this point, and there's really no reasonable objections a lot of the times from the seller's perspective, okay? So just make sure that you also communicate that with your lawyer to see if that's always a possibility. Because if you can gain that extra 2-3 weeks lead time to get your constructions and cleaning done, then what that means is by the time you put your property on the market, either for sale or for rent, whatever the case may be, or even if you want to turn that into a service accommodation like an Airbnb for short-term rentals, time is everything. It just allows you to run a little bit faster and start to make that cash flow a bit quicker. Okay, so when that happens, I know this is a little cheesy. The last thing is you want to celebrate. Okay. I don't know what it is that you do, however, we celebrate. Mini celebrations, super important. It's very, very important to recognize the effort and the time that you put into putting every single deal together. And so this is our entire acquisition process. So I know for some of you guys who are a lot more technical, 1, 2, and 3 is definitely where it's at. However, hopefully this helps you create your own acquisition process as well. And at this point, I really, really want to thank you for all of your support, your love, your likes, your loves, your shares. I really appreciate your participation and your encouragement. And so, for the first time, I'm not going to be telling you that I'm coming back here Monday to Friday at this point. So stay tuned, and during the time that I'm not doing daily live videos, I'm still going to be sharing a few things with you here and there. So stay tuned, stay with me, and live well, everybody.